6 is the time now. We're going to talk about banking now, different ways people are going about doing their banking. We're talking specifically, Ben, about banking on your mobile phone when you're on the move.
Yeah, 11 million people now log on to do their finances every day. I'm assuming you're not one of them, Charlie.
I'm not.
No?
But that's not to say that it's not a good thing. I just haven't done it yet, put it that way.
Fine. Well, watch, you might learn something. Thanks so much. Morning to you. Yeah, the way that we bank has changed quite a bit, not least, of course, because we can now do a lot of it on the move when and where it suits us. But, of course, it hasn't always been that way. Back in the 1930s, well, bank branches looked a little bit like this. The only place to pay in money or take out money was from the bank. It was bank clerks behind desks, even a policeman standing guard of all that money. These pictures, we believe, show shareholders actually collecting their dividend payments. Well, a few decades later, by the mid-1960s, banking was changing. There was that, a bank only for ladies, staffed by women, for women in Edinburgh. But as you can see, cash still king, lots of face-to-face interaction over the counter. But by the 1990s, technology really starting to change how we did our banking.
NatWest says that recession is only one factor behind the job cuts. Computerisation plays a part. Customers are paying by debit cards rather than cheques. And over two-thirds of cash withdrawals from NatWest are now made from automated tellers with enormous labour savings.
Well, mobile banking now changing everything again, not just those ATMs. Last year, apparently, we made 347 million mobile payments. It's actually up by 54% over the year. Between us, we logged onto our mobile banking apps 11 million times a day. So perhaps no surprise that the number of visits to bank branches, well, that's down over the last 5 years from 104 a day to just 71 a day. Well, with me is Anne Bowden from the Starling Bank. Anne, good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see you. Let's talk, first of all, about changing attitudes. We've seen that potted history there of banking, and it's fascinating, isn't it? Seeing those black and white pictures of doing it over the counter to today when we can just do it on a tiny mobile phone. Why have attitudes changed to that extent? Because I imagine that initially there were a lot of security worries.
Well, there's a couple of things going on. First of all, people have changed. People are now used to using their mobile phones all the time. You know, they now shop on their mobile phones, they buy their music on their mobile phones, and they want their banking on their mobile phones. The second factor is people's relationships with banks have become, instead of doing your banking once a month, you're doing your banking all the time. You're going onto your mobile, you're checking your balance, you're interacting, you're making mobile payments. So people have changed. And the final thing is that technology has changed. And technology allows us now to secure the mobile phone. Lots of biometrics, people doing selfies, people doing Touch ID. So the mobile is a very secure form of doing your mobile payments.
Yeah, and a lot of people say that's maybe more secure than perhaps doing it on a desktop computer where you've got to type in a lot of details. On your phone, at least, it's personalised to you, and that's been a big issue.
Well, the mobile has a lot of features. It has a camera, it has Touch ID, it has lots of things that tell you where you are. And most of the new mobile phones coming out now, mobile apps, have ways in which you can control your card and control people using payments from various locations.
So on the other side of all of this, though, all well and good if you're tech savvy and you can use your mobile phone to do all this stuff. A lot of people still won't or can't do that. What hope for them? Because we've seen the number of bank branches close.
You know, so I have a lot of sympathy for the incumbent banks. You know, some people still need branches, and lots of the banks are now trying to find ways of using those branches for other sources and other ways of actually helping people. For banks like ourselves, Starling Bank, we focus on the people who want to do business on their mobile phones. The people who are used to running their lives on their mobile phones and now want the banking services that go with that.
Yeah, and that's the issue, isn't it? For those branches that you know, frankly, from an old bank's point of view, they're very expensive. Staff cost money and they're paying big overheads for those premises on high streets. It's really holding some banks back. But then you say, well, actually, that's the bread and butter of what they do. You still need face-to-face interaction. Is there going to be a time when we'll see that balance shift?
I think a lot of people have a great relationship with their bank now through their mobile phone. You know, they actually touch a button and they can talk to a call centre. They can touch a button and they can actually do chat. So that relationship is still there, but it's through your mobile.
So paint me a picture, 5 years from now, what will banking look like?
I think there's been next generation banks around. I think what we have at the moment is the first generation of people taking the existing internet applications and moving them to mobile. The next-gen banks will have lots of new features that really make banking look very different. I think the banks of the future, the next-gen banks, well, your banking app won't look a bank at all. It'll look something very similar to what you see from the fitness industry or from iTunes or from your shopping apps.
So interesting. When we try to predict the future, it never turns out quite how we expect. Anne, thanks so much, Anne Bodanet from Starling Bank. That's all from me. More after 8. Charlie, did you learn something? Have we converted?
I was listening carefully, Ben.
Yeah.
As always. As always.
I'm predictably
Making
already a
notes.
convert. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much. Now, we've been at the